We all know that artists hold very near and dear their works, as art can be very personal. But many also use a closed source operating system to store their artwork, such as Windows. With Windows 11, Microsoft recently introduced Copilot, which is their AI assistant. And even more recently, they also introduced a feature called Recall, which is basically Copilot taking screenshots of whatever you're doing in a certain amount of time. And it is processed locally, which means that it's only stored on your machine and it won't be sent to the cloud or anything. However, this is not encrypted at all. The only encryption is your lock screen. And someone even managed to hack it, basically. And it's very easy to hack because you can literally access it in a folder on your PC. So any malicious actors could easily access your Microsoft Recall. Now, the reason I bring this up is that proprietary software that do this type of stuff, like processing user data without it being opt-in, it's still a big breach of privacy, even if it's not being fed to AI or no one is hacking it. Plus, things might change or happen in the background and you wouldn't know because it's proprietary. So there's no way to actually check what it's doing beyond just a trust me bro from whatever company you're trusting. Now, why do I bring up FOSS or free and open source software? Well, for free and open source software, programmers can check the code and see exactly what it's doing with your info, if it's doing anything with it at all. And you'll know 100% that your art is not being fed to an AI before it's even online with open source software. So the first open source solution I would like to talk about for artists is free and open source art program. Recently, Adobe had some controversy over generative AI. There were questions placed like, are they using artists' work to feed their AI? They were very unclear with what they were doing, and it ended up causing this controversy. If you're using free and open source software, there will be a peace of mind that your art is not being fed to AI, and you'll know exactly what your art program is doing. So it's not going to be sneaky like potentially what Adobe was doing. And free and open source is free, which means there's no subscriptions. You don't have to pay for it. Hey, this is Editing Me, and I'd like to add to that by saying that yes, you do not have to pay for it, but you can donate to the project to help contribute. Since they're free and don't have ads, they do need a way to fund their projects, and donations is the way they do it. So it is good if you donate to the projects to give back to them. My recommendation for a free and open source art program is Krita. It has a bit of a learning curve, but I think it's worth it for what you're getting, which is peace of mind and no more paying subscriptions. There's also a second option, which is GIMP, but that is more of a replacement for Photoshop. So it's more photo editing centric as opposed to art centric, but maybe it's for you. I think that if you already have a PC and a drawing tablet used to draw, you should try Krita. It's available on Windows, Mac, and Linux, so most people should be able to use it. And if you're a writer, consider using LibreOffice or OnlyOffice. These office suites don't have any AI stuff in them, and they are also open source, which means that you'll know for sure that your work is safe from AI, at least until it's online, because after it's online, it's kind of hard to control what AI scrapers do, but before it's online, your work will be safe. Now that I've covered free and open source art programs, there's also something further you can do to protect your art from AI. If you really want to take things a step further, then you can also replace your current operating system with something free and open source. To know for sure that not even your operating system can access your art and feed it to their AI. There are other free and open source operating systems, but for this video I'm only going to talk about Linux because it is the one that I am most familiar with. I don't really know much about the others. So, Linux seems hard at first because of all the command line stuff you see online, but it's actually pretty easy if you choose a beginner-friendly distro and you follow a tutorial for installing it. The particular thing about Linux is that it comes in many distros, which is basically just different versions available. Most of the hard stuff you see is usually a harder distro like Arch, but there's a lot of beginner-friendly ones out there. My recommendation is Linux Mint because it's really easy to install. It has a graphical installer that just guides you through everything you have to do, and also lots of tutorials for it online. But there are other beginner-friendly distros out there. It's just that Mint is the most recommended one because even as you get better at Linux, Mint is still a great option. And for beginner-friendly distros, you really don't have to use the command line that often just to open a file or something, because there's GUI option just like you see in Windows. And you get an operating system you know doesn't spy on you, which is the best part about installing Linux. In conclusion, using free and open source software for artists can be a great way to protect your art from AI, as you can confirm that the software is not going to be taking your art and feeding it to AI without your consent. Even if open source software were to use your art to feed it to AI, someone would quickly notice it because they can look at the code, and it would quickly become a controversy. So you would know what's going on. Even if that were to happen, then someone could just create a fork of it and remove the code that lets them feed stuff to AI. Making such forks is possible. An example would be, although not an art program, but a text editor, VS Codium, that is a fork of VS Code, but they removed all the tracking and telemetry from it. Alright, so thanks for watching this video, and my sources for all the information I talked about, all the different controversies about proprietary software, will be linked in the description of this video. I do also upload these videos on the Fediverse, so if you're interested in a free and open source decentralized alternative to YouTube, I will leave a link for my channel on an instance of PeerTube in the description as well. Anyways, see you next video.